Hi fellow gardeners. This is my first year experimenting with hydroponics. So I thought I would make a video to show what I've done and talk about what I've learned and how I have saved some money. So my son helped me to build this A-frame, and one of the ways that I saved money on it, my son laughed at me because he said, "You got terrible 2x4s." But I got all of the 2x4s that had like this edging. This is pressure treated, obviously, because it's going to be out here in the weather and the water. But I got the ones that were ugly that other people didn't want. And so I got Lowe's to sell them to me for half price. So that helped me to save money as I built this. So that was the first way that I saved money when I was starting. Secondly, the next thing that I did was some more experimenting. Obviously, I bought PVC, and I'll show you, after doing a lot of research, I bought the thicker PVC. It comes in two thicknesses, and this is the thicker of the two. So I bought thicker based on reading and listening to other people's advice, and the sun could show through this, which obviously you don't want because of algae growth. So I bought the thicker one, and the other reason that I bought the thicker one is because I wanted to thread it. A lot of people, when they make their system, instead of having ends and tubes going between here, they have elbows that run out. But the more elbows that you purchase, the more expensive this gets. So I bought these. These are, I think they're called a test cap. And these are 40 cents a piece at Lowe's. When I purchased them, the person at Lowe's said they probably would leak. And they were right, they did leak, until I wrapped them in this super cheap plumber's tape. So I just wrapped several times around these with the plumber's tape and then put them in there, and they do not leak at all. So those were only 40 cents, so that is significantly cheaper than putting the elbows on. On the ends where the drain is, like on this one, this is the end where it will drain down to the next one. These are a little more expensive. These were about $5.50, I think. Again, it's a test plug, but these are really neat. You screw and it tightens in and it creates a good seal. And I used these on the drain ends so that I could easily take them on and off, to be able to get in there if I had a problem with the system where something was plugged or I needed to get in there for some reason. So the other thing that I did was, instead of buying a lot of expensive hoses, because I looked and some of the hoses you can purchase are quite expensive, I bought an inexpensive garden hose, and I just cut it into the size pieces that I needed. So that saved me a lot of money by purchasing one garden hose for around $15, I think, when one roll of the other hose that I had found was like $25, and I would have had to have two of them. Next, I bought pool noodles at the dollar store, and these are to insulate so that it helps so that the sun doesn't shine on there and create too much heat. Also, you can see that the system is wrapped in reflective material, and most of the time people that I was watching their videos used something like this, and this is really awesome. It is sticky back, and it's got like a layer of foam and then the aluminum on the outside so that it's reflective. And it's great. It's easy to put on. However, it costs around $25 for a roll, and I would have needed 3 rolls, at least maybe 4 rolls to be able to do this. So instead, what I bought was something that was similar, in that it is reflective. And these came from the dollar store, and these are the reflectors that you would put in your windshield for the sun. And I cut them so that one goes most of the way down. I think this is about 5 feet wide. And then I just added the other pieces that I had cut off on the end of here. And I tied them on there. I had lots of elastic left over. During this pandemic, I have been making a lot of masks for people, and I ended up with a lot of elastic. So that is what I used just to tie these on here. And so far, this seems to be doing really well. The water is not heating up. So this is working very well. The other thing that I did, and this helped save some money as well, although, my system is not beautiful, I don't care. It's in my backyard. No one else has to see it. So I am happy with that. But someone else recommended that I put it on wheels. And so I wanted to be able to move this around on my back deck. And so I can hear water moving now that I'm rolling it. So I went to purchase wheels, and again, wheels can be quite expensive. So a way that I found it to do it a little cheaper was I went to Harbor Freight and I bought one of these rolling carts. They happened to be on sale. I think it was $7.99, and they have these very nice wheels on the bottom. So for $7.99, I had 4 wheels that we just took the cart apart and used the wheels, and it's working just fine. I can move this wherever I want. So I was very excited about that as well. So the way that my system works, I have a large tub that I have semi-buried in the ground. This is an area in my back porch that has a lot of shade. I'm still going to put reflective material on the top of this. I just haven't gotten there yet. I just got the system up and running. So inside, of course, there is a pump. I was lucky enough, someone gave me a pond pump, so it would pump the height that I needed very easily. So it comes out and it goes up, and I split it there so that it goes in each side of my system separately. And it goes through when it comes down, and at the end, I'm having it go through a cooler on this side, and this will have a large squash plant in it. And on the other side, it is going to come down and go into this bucket as a Dutch bucket system, and then it will flow back into the container again, of course, to be recycled. So that is how I built my system and some of the tips. The other thing that I learned along the way that I thought was very interesting was when I just put these plants in here a few days ago, and you can see I put this is just some garden netting that I had. I put so that my plants wouldn't all fall inside. And the fabric is there right now just as a sun shield, because I just put these plants in here a few days ago. I live in South Carolina. The sun is killer this time of year in July, and so I wanted to give them a little bit of protection. So that is why the fabric is there right now. But since I just put these plants in there, the nasturtium and the lettuces I started by seed in the house, but the tomato plants and pepper plants and squash and cucumbers I bought as plants, and then I just very gently washed them in some water to remove the dirt from the root system and put them in the net cups. And when I did, what I discovered was, because of this system, the water was not deep enough for a net cup. When it would sit in there, the net cup wasn't actually touching the water yet. Of course, this won't be an issue once the plants grow long roots, but when you first put them in there, the roots have to be able to touch some water at least. And so I needed to make the water deeper. So, oh, look at there. Look at those beautiful roots coming. That's pretty exciting. That's been about 3 or 4 days. And I already have these roots coming out. So I'm pretty excited about that. But you can see the water level is quite high. This is a temporary thing. I will be dropping the water level down once all the plants have nice, beautiful roots like this. So I played around with water flow. I didn't want to put baffles. I was trying to figure out how to adjust the water level. And the way that I designed my system came in very handy with this. So you can see I drilled a hole and I threaded using a tap and die, threaded a hole so that this is threaded, this screws up in. Part of the reason that I did it this way was so that I can adjust that height. So right now it's screwed in about as far as it will go, but that means that even if all of the water drained out, there still can be water in here and it will never be completely dry because the water is not above this lip. But right now, while I want it to be deeper for baby plants, I'm getting ready to put plants in this side tonight. So I discovered that if I buy a coupler, the coupler will screw on, and then once it's screwed on, that controls my water level on the inside. So now my water level will be above this, which means it will be in the net cups until they start making their roots, and then I can lower the water level. So that is my system and how I built it and how I saved money doing it. Of course, there's lots of ways to do these, and this isn't necessarily the right way, but it's just what I've done that worked. So I wanted to share some of these tips in case some other people were interested and wanted to save some money along the way too. So I hope it helps, and happy growing.